All right, it's Mr. P Helps with Algebra, back with another video. This is U4T2L2, Lesson 2, and we're going to be talking about key features of quadratic functions. We're going to start off with standard form of equations. Standard form, as I taught in the previous video, the a is always multiplied by the x squared, the b is always the coefficient of the x, and c is always the constant, meaning the number by itself. So a, coefficient of the x squared, is 5. B is 3, and C is 6. So it's already in order anyway. Whenever there's no coefficient, then the coefficient is 1 because there's 1x squared here. -7 would be the x's coefficient, and 3 is the constant. All right, now this one, you're noticing that there is no x term. So 6 is A, but 0 is B because there's no x's, and -5 is C. -3 is A, 4 is B, and this time there's no C. And the last one, there's 8 is the x squared's coefficient, and -5 is the x's coefficient, and -2 is the constant. All right, so we're going to be talking about vertex form again, and we're going to be looking at key features of functions. That means we're looking at vertex, maximum, minimum, all of these things right here that you see, the domain, the range. All right, so when I'm given an equation like this, first of all, this is standard form. If I want to change that to vertex form, it would be -x minus 0 or plus 0 squared plus 3. Now, all I really did was put the x in parentheses, and I put a -0 there or a +0, same thing, and that represents the h in vertex form. So this became the a, and this became the h. Okay, so I'm going to graph the following function by looking at vertex form. So it starts at 0. That means 0 to the right, and this is 3 up. 1, 2, 3. So there's the vertex right there. Since it's -1 is A, that means the next two terms are 1 below it. And then I've got my parabola. It looks something like this. Okay, so now 0, 3 was the vertex, so I'll put that right there. If I want to do the next points, then those were already labeled as well. So that would be 1, 2, or -1, 2 also. But then if I want to find that third point, because we know these 2 points have to be the same, then I'm going to have to solve for it. I'm going to put 2 in for x and solve. So 2 minus 0 is still 2. Squared is 4. Opposite of that would be -4 plus 3 makes -1. So these have to be -1. All right, so the vertex we already talked about was 0, 3. And we know that this has a maximum because it has a highest point. Increasing interval, when is this function increasing? It's increasing when x is less than 0, because everything to the left of the line of symmetry is increasing. And then it's decreasing when it's after the line of symmetry, when x is greater than 0. So the domain is actually infinite because it goes both left and right infinitely, so it's all real numbers. And the range, all real numbers. Okay, I'm having a little trouble writing here. And the range means up or down. The highest point the function goes is 3. The entire function, which is y, which is the range, has to be below 3 or equal to 3, because the function never has a height greater than that. All right, I'm going to change colors. +2 means that the starting point is going to be 2 to the left. It's the opposite of what you would think. 1, okay, I kind of missed my increment there. Okay, so 1, 2, good enough. +1 means up 1, so I would start right there. The a term is 1, so that means each term next to it is going to be 1 above it. So it'll look something like that. All right, so as I mentioned a second ago, so -2, 1 is the vertex. I'll put that right in the middle. I'm going to make this -1 and 0, make this -3 and -4. -1 was 1, 2, and -3 was also 2, a height of 2. Now, if I want to find for 0, I'm going to plug it in and solve. 0 plus 2 is 2, squared is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay, you could also use a graphing calculator to do that with. I just think it's easier if you plug it in, find it yourself. All right, the line of symmetry is -2, 1. The vertex is -2, 1. The line of symmetry is x equals -1, because that's where the line of symmetry, I'm sorry, it's x equals -2, sorry. -2 is the line of symmetry. The vertex is -2, 1. This has a minimum because it has a lowest point. The increasing interval will be everything to the right of -2, so that'd be greater than -2. Decreasing interval will be everything left of -2, because over here it's decreasing, then it's increasing. The domain would be all real numbers again, and the range would be everything that's 1 or above. So y is greater than or equal to 1. All right, last example here. So I'm going to try to do a little better job there. Oh, perfect. And here, great. So that means write 1 down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is our vertex right there. And the next term is going to be 3 above it. 1, 2, 3. And the reason it's 3 above it, because A is 3. And the fact that it's positive 3 means it's going to be above it. If it was negative 3, it would have been below it. All right, so the vertex is 1, negative 4. 2 happen to be at negative 1. And that means also that 0 would be negative 1. And then I got to solve for 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. Squared is 4 times 3 is 12. And minus 4 is 8. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to talk through these. The line of symmetry is at x equals 1. The vertex would be at 1, negative 4. Yeah, the line of symmetry in the vertex is x is always the same. It has a minimum because it has a lowest point. Increase interval would be everything to the right, which would be greater than 1. Decrease would be everything to the left, which would be less than 1. Domain, once again, all real numbers. And the range, the lowest point is negative 4. So y is greater than or equal to negative 4. All right, so I'm going to skip through that a little bit. So things I know about this is just to check in to see if we remember everything about vertex form. This means 3 to the left, this means 7 up, and this means it's pointing down because it's negative, and it's a little bit narrow because this number is greater than 1. All right, so that's, remember what we did before. So we're going to write equations now based on given tables and graphs. So we're going to do it backwards basically now. Instead of making the graph from the equation, we're going to make the equation from the graph. So first find the vertex. The vertex is at 3, negative 1. Once I know the vertex is 3, negative 1, then I can write it in vertex form. I know it's going to be x minus 3 squared minus 1. Now remember, the first number, whatever's in the parentheses, is always the opposite of what you would think. That's the reason why it was x minus h. h is 3, so it's x minus 3. Now, the a term, to find the a term, you're going to find the next term is 2 above the vertex. So that means a has to be 2. Or you could say the previous term is also 2 above. So that's where the a comes from. And it's positive because I went up instead of down. If I want to do a second representation, I would simply make a table, but I'm going to try to save some time here and not do that. Looking at a table, it's a little trickier to find the vertex when you're looking at a table. Actually, I think it's easier, but it's different. The vertex in a graph is easy, but in a table, you're looking at the y column, and you're trying to find the pattern, and I see it right here. And the reason I know that's the vertex is because if you look at the numbers above and below it, they're the same. These numbers are the same, these numbers are the same, and so forth. These numbers would have been the same. That would have been 14, and that would have been 23, as long as your increments are going in equal amounts. So I know the vertex is at negative 1, negative 2, so that tells me it's going to be x plus 1 squared minus 2. And then the a term, I asked myself, what do I have to do to negative 2 to make it negative 1? I would have to add 1, so therefore a is 1. All right, last one here, and that would be at negative 3, 4 is the vertex. So that would be x plus 3 squared plus 4, because there's your h and there's your k. Then I need to find the a term, and I start right here. If I go left to the previous term, I would have to go down a half. Down means negative, down a half would be just like that. So it's negative 1/2 times x plus 3 squared plus 4. Yes, that's a mouthful. All right, so let's get to the homework. So it's very much like what we just did a second ago. So we're given vertex form. I already know that the vertex is going to be at 1, 0, and I know that because it's the opposite of this number is the h, and the k is nothing, so that's going to be 0. So 1, 0 is right there. And then I know the next term is going to be 1 above it because there is no a term. A is actually 1, and voila, there is my graph. That was quick and easy. This one, the vertex is going to be at 1, 1, and I know it because it's the opposite of that, and it stays the same right there. 1, 1 is right there. The a term is also 1 here because there's nothing there. It means 1 times anything stays itself. So it once again looks like that. Last question. The vertex this time is at 1, 1 also. A lot of 1, 1s here. So 1, 1. Remember, it's the opposite. But this time it's got an a term of 2. So the next term is 2 above. So you're going to notice that this time, the fact that it's 2 up is going to make it look just a little bit skinnier. All right, that seems to be it. Thanks again for watching, and please give it a like if it helped you learn something about vertex form or the transformations of them. All right, have a great day. Thanks for watching.